YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. So I thought we would talk about home protection today. How to guard your home, how to guard your family, how to defend your home and your family, and things like that. So please stay tuned throughout the video because I do have a short story to read to you that I feel is pretty important for people to listen to. Okay, I'm going to be reading to you mostly from an article that I found. And the article is about bugging in. Okay, fortifying your home and bugging in. And it's from tactical.com. And it's called Bugging In, How to Fortify Your Home. Right, it says for SHTF. And I can leave a link to this article in the bottom of my description where I normally leave the links. All right, so let's start. And it says here, first thing first, never spill the beans. So OPSEC. So if you're a prepper, you want to have OPSEC. That's a lot of you may be saying, well, why are you doing this? Well, some preppers, as you may know, that have prepper channels, we've given up OPSEC to try to help people get prepared. All right. And there are some ways in which we mitigate not being targeted during a crisis, or let's say SHTF. I hate saying SHTF because not all crises are SHTFs. All right. There's not mayhem going on all over the place and anarchy and things like that. Right. But we usually do things to mitigate that. And one of those things, like for example, for myself, one of the things that I've done to mitigate having a presence in the prepper community is to move away from where people would be going in a systemic crisis, right? I've stated in several videos that I'm north of a city where people don't want to go north, where they want to go south. So if you live where I live, you want to go south. And there's not very many people that live north of where I live, very few. And the people that live in the city south of where I live, during a crisis of a systemic level, they would not want to come north to where I live. They themselves would be headed south as well, right? So let's put that to the side. So, of course, you want to not spill the beans of everything you've got to the people that live near you or around you, right? Because, of course, most of them probably are not preppers. They're probably not prepared. They think you're a joke until the day comes where they have to come knocking on your door, and they will remember that you told them that you were a prepper, right? And they will remember seeing the things that maybe you showed them that you had, okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing, it says guard your perimeter. It says here, when defending your home, your primary goal should be to keep any and all attackers out. But should somebody attempt to raid your property, you'll want to keep them as far away from your house as possible. One of the best ways to achieve this is by creating a defensive perimeter around your home. Now, it says here, tall fences or not. So should you have like a fence around your home, a tall 7-8 foot fence around your home or not? It says here, some preppers advise building a 7-foot tall wall or fence around your backyard to deter potential looters. While it does make it harder for someone to snoop on your property, it's also the most obvious sign that you probably have some stuff worth stealing. And that's a great point, right? Like, I've always thought that if we were in a real SHTF and, you know, there were people roaming around trying to see if they can break into homes, one of the first things I would do is I would trash my front yard and my side yard. I would get all the extra spare clothes we had, all the garbage that we had collected up. I would spread it all over the yard, just make everything look like it's a mess, make it look like this house has already been looted. All right, so that's a pretty good point. And then it says landscape defensively. So for example, to landscape defensively, oh, by the way, I hope you guys like the view. I'm sitting in my in our I guess, second living room, right? And there's a big window in it, and that's where I'm sitting. Can't really be outside right now, and I don't feel like putting on any mosquito repellent because the mosquitoes are out today. The Alaska state bird, the mosquito, is out today, and they're out pretty ferociously too. So, all right. And it says landscape defensively. For example, this window here that you guys are looking through. Under this window, it would be nice if we put bushes or even rose bushes. That way, if somebody wanted to come to the window, they were going to have to pay a little bit of a price. It would slow them down, number one, or it may deter them altogether. It says here also, you don't need to install, it says, don't be afraid of open space. You don't need to install fence after fence to secure your perimeter. Having some open space between your wall or fence and the main structure of your house also works to give you a clear line of sight to potential intruders cannot cover their approach, and you can react quickly. All right, so that's a good point. Having some open spaces is good because it allows you to see what's going on outside. All right, and it says hang signs around your house, like hang signs that say this house is quarantined, you know, or no trespassing, and trespassers will be shot on sight, and things like that. All right, and these are all easy things that can be done. All right, it says here for defense or for protection, set up cameras, motion detectors or motion lights, right? Or set up trip wires that are connected to alarms. That way, in the evening or at night, if you're sleeping and somebody trips one of those, it'll do two things. It'll alert you that there's someone in the area, all right, around your home, and it will probably also scare away whoever it is that tripped it, right? It says fortify your home's entry points. What happens if a zombie gets past your perimeter defenses? Imagine if he ignores your signs, scales your fence, disregards your cameras, and makes his way through your door or window. This is where the next layer of your home defense becomes important. Properly fortified doors and windows will make all the differences in keeping intruders out and keeping your family safe. All right, so fortify your windows and your doors. Some people may ask, well, how can you fortify your windows? Now, I don't have this product, but there is a product out there. It's like a thick vinyl lining that you can actually put on your window on the inside and the outside. And when someone tries to break through the window, it will not allow the window to shatter. It will hold everything together and make it extremely difficult for that person to try to get through. Now, they will eventually get through if they're determined enough. But what that will do is it will buy you time to go and prepare for the next step of your self-defense. Okay? And the same thing with door security. Instead of having a hollow door, especially for folks that live in warm areas that they don't really have to have insulated doors, instead of having hollow doors, maybe you can have a solid wood door. Okay, like for example, a lot of places up here don't like to have steel doors for their front doors because steel allows the cold to come in a lot easier than fiberglass doors. So a lot of people opt to have fiberglass doors. And even though I know this, that fiberglass doors have a little bit better R rating as far as insulation goes, I opted to get a steel door for, the front door or the entrance door to my home. All right. So, losing that 1 or 2 R rating in insulation factor, I would rather have the steel door than to have a fiberglass door. That's a lot easier to break in. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize that if someone is determined to break into your home, they are going to break in. Okay. They will be breaking in. All right, and I'm going to leave the article to this because it has a lot of really, really good tips. Okay, there's something that I want to talk to you guys about that I haven't really talked about in a long time. I actually only did one video, very, very small part of a video that included firearms. Now, I understand that there is a good amount of people, I'm sure, all right, because everyone has a different opinion and we're all different, of course, that are not for owning or using a firearm for self-defense. And I would like to read you guys a story, all right, of something that happened for real here in the U.S. in Oklahoma. And obviously, you're going to make up your own mind on whether you want to or do not want to possess a firearm, okay? I know you've probably heard this before, and I'll say it again. A firearm is a tool. You can use any tool that you put in your hands for good or for bad, okay? I am the last thing that there can be from violence. I hate violence. I don't like hurting people. And I wish and hope that I never have to hurt anyone for as long as I live. I don't ever want to hurt anyone. But if it comes between my family being safe, which includes me being safe as well, right? Because I am the protector of my family. If it comes between my family being safe and me having to take up arms to defend my family, to include our home and our preps, because think about this, ladies and gentlemen, in an SHTF situation, your preps, if you lose them, that could be your life. If you allow someone to come into your home and take what you've prepped for you and your family, that could mean your life. So in an SHTF situation, I would say that guarding your preps is just as important as protecting the lives of your family and yourself, all right? And or your neighbors, depending on how close your neighbors are. All right, so I want to read you the story to allow you to picture what would you do in a situation like this, because it can happen anywhere at any time. I know that you've probably heard this 1,000 times, all right, from pro-gun advocates, and you'll probably hear it another 1,000 times. But let me tell you right now that what I'm about to tell you is very true. And I am a perfect example of why it is true. And the saying goes like this: when seconds count, the police are minutes away. And that is very true, ladies and gentlemen. Where I live, if I were to call a law enforcement agency right now, okay, and told them that someone was breaking into my home, at the very minimum, and I'm talking about in good circumstances, that there's no traffic on the highways, that the weather is good, and that the patrol car is actively patrolling and able to take off as soon as they get the call. At the very minimum, I'm looking at about 15 minutes, and that is in perfect conditions, all right, before a law enforcement officer gets to my residence, all right? So if I were to call right now, it would be at a minimum 15 minutes before a law enforcement officer got to my location. It could take anyone anywhere between, to break into my home right now, I would say someone could get in within 5 minutes. That next 10 minutes could mean life or death. Okay, so keep that in mind when I read this story, okay? And it says here, in Oklahoma, a mother shot and killed an intruder to protect her 3-month-old baby on New Year's Eve, less than a week after the baby's father died of cancer. The young mother said a week earlier, a 24-year-old male subject dropped by on the day of her husband's funeral, claiming that he was a neighbor who wanted to say hello. The 18-year-old mother did not let him into her home. Obviously, she didn't know him, right? On New Year's Eve, he returned with a second man, and this time he was armed with a 12-inch hunting knife. As one of the men was going from door to door outside her home trying to gain entry, the woman called 911 and grabbed her 12-gauge shotgun. Now, listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. The men were still outside of their home, and she called 911. She told ABC News Oklahoma City affiliate KOCO that she quickly got her 12-gauge, went into her bedroom and got a pistol, put a bottle in the baby's mouth, and called the 9 number. I guess you can't really say that number on YouTube anymore for whatever reason. The young mother asked the dispatcher, "I have 2 firearms in my hands. Is it okay to shoot him if he comes in the door?" The dispatcher confirmed with the mom that the doors to her home were locked, as she asked again if it was okay to shoot the intruder if he were to come through the door. And the dispatcher says, "I cannot tell you to do that, but you do what you have to do to protect your baby." The dispatcher told her. The woman was on the phone with the dispatcher for a total of 21 minutes. She was on the phone with the dispatcher for 21 minutes, and still no Leos had arrived at her home. When the first male kicked in the door and came after her with the knife, the teen mom shot the 24-year-old. The Leos are calling the shooting justified. And then it says here, "You're allowed to shoot an unauthorized person that is in your home. The law provides you the remedy and sanctions the use of deadly force," said Detective Dan Huff of the Blanchard Police Department. And then it says here, "The second home invader turned himself into police shortly after." And then it says, "I wouldn't have done it, but it was my son," the woman told media. "It's not an easy decision to make, but it was either going to be him or my son, and it wasn't going to be my son. There's nothing more dangerous than a woman with a child." So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not one of those people that pushes firearms and guns on other people. I don't talk to someone and the first thing I ask them is, "Do you have a gun?" I remember a commenter once left a comment. I forgot what video it was on, but he said something like, "Oh man, if you're a prepper, then I'm sure you must have a whole bunch of guns. How many videos do you have about guns? Can you let me know which videos they are?" Well, it's not something that I've really talked about a lot because, like I said, I'm not a violent person, and the last thing in the world that I would want to do is to hurt anyone in any way. But I am a realist, and I do realize that in this world that we live in, we have to make a decision. Do we want to arm ourselves in the right way to protect our family, or do we want to leave our well-being in the hands of someone else that, through no fault of their own, but through the fault of the system under which we live, cannot make it to your location on time to help you in your greatest time of need? So for that reason, I ask you to look at your situation. What are you going to do to protect your preps? All right? Because like I said, in some kind of a major crisis, your preps will be you and your family's lives, or your and your family's lives. What plans do you have in place to protect your family? And what plans do you have in place to fortify your home to allow you that extra bit of time that you would need in order to prepare yourself for quote unquote battle? Because that's what it will be, battle. And only because it hasn't happened to you, it doesn't mean that it will never happen. And that is why I think it's very important that we all look at exactly what our situation is now and what it could be during a crisis where crime increases a lot. Because normally when there is some kind of a major crisis going on, be it an economic collapse, be it a shortage of food, all right, be it a lesser demand for labor and there's more unemployment, crime usually goes up. Usually crime will go up and the use of alcohol and drugs will go up. And those things put together is a bad combination for people that are, just wanting to live a good, normal, simple life, right? And usually those are the people that end up getting attacked by people that pretty much have nothing left to lose. Because as I've heard before, it's said that when you have nothing left to lose, you lose it. And we prepare for anything, right? So why not prepare to defend your home and to defend your family? All right. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I hope that you are looking into your self-defense, all right, into the defense of your property, your home, all right, your perimeter, and of course of yourselves and your families. All right. So I really wanted to do this for a while now, to talk to you guys about this for a while. And, because I really think it's important. I really do. All right. I really think it's important. So now what I want to do is take a minute and talk to you guys about what I prefer to hold in my home to defend my family. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So what you see here is what I think is pretty important to have. And what I'm talking about, I'll talk about a couple of different situations. I'll tell you what I think is pretty important to have for just every day, and what I think is pretty important to have for if there were some kind of an SHTF, okay? So, and these firearms are not really that expensive, to tell you the truth, all right? So, the money factor is not really a big issue, all right? So the truth is that this small 22 long rifle right here is actually more expensive than the other two are, all right? But it's not how expensive a firearm you decide to purchase and to own, but it's how much you familiarize yourself with it and how much you practice with it, right? If you don't train with it, if you just take this thing out every 2 or 3 years and go and fire off, a box of bullets, you're probably going to be in bad shape if you ever needed to use this in a hurry, all right? You should be able to dismantle your firearms. You should be able to put them back together. You should be able to service them, all right, easily, all right? And you should be able to handle them without even looking at them and know what you're touching and what to do with that part, okay? If I only had to pick, actually, you know what? Modern Refugee did a video where he told people if you only had one firearm to use, all right, which one it would be, all right? And I won't tell you what he chose. I'll actually go ahead and leave a card for his video up here so you guys can take a look at it. But if I only had enough money, all right, to get one firearm, all right, I would get this. I would get a shotgun, all right? And why is that? Because a shotgun is good for home defense, all right? A shotgun, you can get different types of shells for it. You can hunt with it. You can get slugs with it to where you can actually hunt deer In my case up here, deer or caribou. And if I got close enough, I bet you I could take down a moose with a slug, with a spiraled slug, right? There's a lot of options of ammunition for a shotgun, right? This shotgun right here, I've actually shot a slug and hit a target which was the size of a man's silhouette. So I hit the silhouette of a man, you know, a target at over 100 meters with a shotgun using a rifled slug. Okay, so this can be a good self-defense, home defense firearm, and it can also be used for hunting birds. It can be used for hunting small game. All right, if you put the kind of shell in it, I think it's a number 8. A number 8's got like little itty bitty BBs in there, and it's got a really wide spread. So if you shoot like a bird, it won't just turn it into dust. You'll actually be able to eat it because it'll still actually be there for you to pick up. All right, but you can hunt small game with it. Same concept. All right, and like I say, you can hunt bigger game, and you can also use this for self-defense. There are some people that prefer different models. Honestly, I've had this firearm here, this shotgun for a long time, for over 10 years now. And I've shot it several times. You know, I've shot it a lot, and I'm very comfortable with it. Right? I'm very comfortable with it. There are shotguns out there that are a lot nicer than this, that are semi-automatic. I prefer to use this one because I'm so comfortable and I am so familiar with it. All right? This is what I would get if I could only get one firearm to do everything with. All right? Now, for like an SHTF kind of a deal, I would also want to have a sidearm. A sidearm that I can conceal and have with me at all times, even when I'm outside, even if I'm only working in the yard. I would want to have something that I have with me at all times, all right? And this firearm right here, it's not 100% necessary. It's a .22 caliber, which you can use this even though it's a sidearm, all right? Even though it's a handgun, you can still use this to do hunting, you know, maybe rabbits and things like that. But what I got this for mainly is for training, right? Is so that people that haven't been able to get to this yet, haven't gotten up to this yet, can start training with this, which is a .22 caliber. It has very small amount of kickback, all right? And we train with this, all right? The rounds are a lot less expensive than the rounds for a .40 caliber. And once we are accurate and precise with this firearm, then we move up to a higher caliber firearm. And this firearm, ladies and gentlemen, is not very expensive at all. But I really love shooting this firearm. All right, this is a Smith & Wesson. It's the SD40VE. All right, and it's the self-defense .40 caliber value edition. All right. And I do believe, don't quote me, I could be wrong, but I do believe that Smith & Wesson was sued by Glock, because if you compare this Smith & Wesson .40 cal to the Glock 23 model, they're pretty much the same with a few minor, differences. All right, but this is a very good firearm. You could probably pick one of these up for less than $400, all right, and probably less than that if you buy one used. Okay, however, this is what I recommend right here. If you have nothing at all, I recommend something like this. First and foremost, I do recommend that before you go and purchase something like this, go take a class. Go get trained up, all right? And once you get trained up, practice until it becomes second nature. And that way, if something ever happens, your muscle memory will outweigh your stress level, okay? Because when you're in a stressful situation, your training will take over, all right? And it will trump your stress. Your training won't care about what stress level you're at, because your training will take over, and then muscle memory will take care of whatever it is that you need to do. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope that you guys got something out of this. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is somewhat of a touchy subject for some people, and I can understand that. And I do respect everyone's view on firearms. I truly do. but it's something that you seriously have to consider, all right? What a firearm will do for you is it will neutralize the difference between you and the perpetrator, right? That mother of that baby, on the story that I read to you, the man that came at her was probably twice as big as she was. Because I remember reading the story when it first came out, and it said that the guy was a really big guy. And he was probably twice as big as her. And there's absolutely no way that she would have been able to fight this person off. Okay? What this does is it evens the playing field, all right, against a perpetrator and a law-abiding citizen that just wants to be safe and wants his family to be safe, his or her family to be safe. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to go ahead and leave it off at that. I hope that you got something out of this video. Like I said, I don't do very many videos like this because I know that sometimes these kinds of subjects are a little controversial, but it is something that you have to think about. And if you decide not to think about it, if you decided to click off the video before you got to this part, then that's okay. I respect that because you have to make the decisions that will make your life better for you. If you feel like Gandhi did, that absolutely zero violence is the way to go and whatever happens, happens, then that's okay. It's just not okay for me. I want to make sure that my family is okay. I don't want to be put in a position where my family's been compromised and terrible things happen in front of me and there's nothing that I can do about it. I just don't ever want to be put in that position. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in today. All right. We will talk tomorrow on Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining in. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place. And you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.